Fighting games are the most difficult to play genre, however, that's what most people find appealing. That's not to say that all fighters are difficult. More often than not, you can find a character that you're willing to learn the game with. The selection of games that I have here are full of them, and only one of these titles is quote unquote hard to learn. This list will have at least one game you've never heard of or played before. Like all my other videos in this series, this isn't a top 5. With that being said, on with the video. The Rumblefish Plus is our first game on this list. Now, here's a fair warning though, this is the game I mentioned being hard to learn. I'll touch on that in a bit. The animation for this game is what captivated me into trying it out. I understand that it may not be for everyone, but I do appreciate fighting games that try to look different. The 2D cel-shaded sprites look surprisingly well in a 3-dimensional environment. It's pretty reminiscent of MVC2's Naomi engine. Getting into how this game plays is a huge can of worms, but I'll simplify it the best I can. For the most part, you can only do a 3-button combo. You may be able to use a special with those 3 hits, but that's about it. However, you can use what is called an advanced attack that will allow you to do an extra 3 hits with a special attack to finish off the combo. In order to use an advanced attack though, requires half of your offensive meter, which you can gain while being offensive. Same with your defensive meter, however, that bar is used for a get off me button. When both meters are full, you can then perform a critical art, which is basically your big super move, or your level 3 in Marvel terms. If you haven't noticed, this game has battle damage. While some may see it as vulgar, it's an actual representation of what a street fight would look like. This mechanic actually ties in with the name of the game. Rumblefish is a term used for beta fish. This species of fish, when put in the same tank, will rip each other apart until one is remaining. Hence the name, Rumblefish. Knowing the actual meaning behind the game's title brings a whole new perspective on this series. This game as a whole was a pretty interesting experience, but if you don't know the game's rules going in, then you're likely to get frustrated. That can be said with any fighter, but this one is a little different. Its base price is relatively cheap at $8, with its sale price dropped down to a cool $2.40. This is a port of its arcade release and is considered a better port than its sequel. The second game on this list is Battle High 2 A+. Battle High is a pretty basic fighter that plays similarly to the Street Fighter Alpha series. The main focus that separates this game from other fighters is that it's elemental based. The moment I saw that it looked like an Avatar fighter, I knew I had to check it out. It's not as combo heavy as most of the games here, although that's not necessarily a bad thing. I felt that it played closer to the original King of Fighters as well, with how distant the playstyle is. It gives room to see and admire the different elements flying across the stage. The reason why I'm using the trailer over my own footage is that for some reason, I had a lot of screen tearing going on. Unfortunately, this game doesn't have a VSync option to help combat this. Whenever I wasn't recording, it seemed to run better, so I'm gonna blame my OBS. Anyway, technical issues aside, this is a decent title. It is a slower paced game, which isn't my speed, but that doesn't mean you can't enjoy it more than I did. One thing you'll notice is that it does lack a lot of features and looks relatively amateurish. That's partly due to it being an indie game, but that's not much of an excuse these days. The one thing that keeps it on this list, however, is its pricing. With it being only $2, it's super hard to complain. I didn't have much to say with this one because it really is pretty basic. Having said that, the price and its simplicity makes it a solid choice as a starting point for players dipping their toes into the fighting scene. The third title on this list is BlazBlue Centralfiction. While I love to support indie devs, some fighting games deserve a little more love than they get. The BlazBlue series is also made by Arc System Works and is, in my opinion, easier to get into than their other game, Guilty Gear. If you're a fan of Capcom's Versus series, then this game will feel pretty similar. It's super fast and simple to understand combos. The game is pretty lenient on combo strings and feels very nice with juggles. To make this game even easier, there's a simplified control scheme called Stylish that allows you to do auto combos similar to Dragon Ball FighterZ. This is good for those that just want to have fun and look cool while doing so. The other option is for those players looking for more of a challenge or who would rather do their inputs manually. This game does have a story mode, but it felt more like a visual novel than a playable campaign. What I would recommend instead is the arcade mode, which is just your standard climb to the top mode. This game isn't really active online, but if you do find a friend to play with, you can customize your lobby avatar as well as your lobby room. The game has a lot of features that I can't really fit in this video, so I'll just leave it at that for now. Overall, this is not a complicated fighter in the least. I've gotten non-fighting game players to enjoy this title, so I'm fairly confident that anyone can have fun with this game regardless of skill. The base price is on the higher end, starting at $30, but I highly suggest getting it on sale. It goes on sale for $10, which is a nice 20 shaven off. Not that it isn't worth $30, but needing to use Discord in order to play a game online is a huge drawback. With that being said, I can't recommend this game enough. If you're a fan of fast-paced easy fighters, this is it. The second to last title on this list is ROBO. I absolutely love this game. It has so much charm to it, like its retro look and character designs. Don't let its 8-bit NES appearance fool you though. It looks simple on the surface, but it's pretty psychological in nature. Okay, well, it's not that complicated, but ROBO still packs a punch. This game is like rock, paper, scissors, but with robots. Some can shoot fireballs while others can literally transform. Almost every robot has 3 special moves that you can look at via the in-game manual. Each special can be enhanced with the help of your overdrive meter. These do even more damage than normal specials. To use your overdrive super, you must input 2 quarter circle forwards and punch. This consumes all remaining meter but does have a long recovery. Using this right after a combo would be the most optimal. Since this is a retro-styled fighter with limitations from the NES era, it doesn't have much extra modes. The one surprising thing about this game is that it even has a training mode. The arcade mode for this game is pretty simple, however it does do something unexpected. After every match you get to add points to your attributes. Depending on how well you did will determine how many you get. I thought this was unique, and it can definitely help players who are struggling to win a fight. Of course, you don't have to use them at all, so it's nice to see how you'd fare without them. It was easy for me to get lost in this simple retro fighter for 30 minutes to an hour. There are a lot of cool references like the Autobot flying animation to the Megazord vehicle combination. The developers wanted this game to look like an old NES game, and they knocked it out of the park. The base price for this title is criminally low at $2. Its sale price goes for $1.69, but seriously, this game is worth the whole $2. If you want to understand the appeal of fighting games, this is the one to play. And last but not least,
Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite and Beyond!
Marvel Infinite was a really cool game, and I'm glad I'm not the only one who thought so. This is a mod for Infinite, and it's a pretty cool one. For the most part, it just changes the visuals of the game from the characters all the way to the menus and UI. If you don't want to mod the game, then you don't have to because this title is still amazing on its own. I regard this game as a hidden gem. It got a lot of hate back in the day, and while semi-deserved, this game deserves a second chance. As much as I love the 3v3 fighters, having 2 characters to control is much easier and maybe a bit more fun as well. Switching between characters mid-combo just to continue the combo and finish with a big ultimate is a feeling not a lot of games offer. The punches and wall bouncers are very satisfying. Something that a lot of online players would appreciate is that this game has rollback netcode. If you don't know what that is, basically it's the best online you could ask for. What makes Marvel Infinite so special is that it brought back the 2v2 format as well as the Infinity Stones. Instead of X Factor, we now have the Infinity Stones as a common ability as well as the game's catch-up mechanic. I'd also like to mention that I really enjoy the campaign. It's not the best thing in the world, but it's a lot better than Street Fighter V or Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. Seeing your favorite heroes interact with one another from 2 different companies in this way is pretty magical. In my opinion, this is the best feeling Marvel game. It lacks in many areas, but at the end of the day, the gameplay is what truly matters, and I feel that it succeeds in that regard. Its base price is $40 and its sale price is a consistent $8. Even without the Infinite and Beyond mod, you can have just as much fun. I may not be the best at fighting games, but I can still enjoy them casually. Of course, they are competitive in nature, but it's good to have a few just for fun. There weren't a lot of indie titles in this video, and that's because most of them are still being developed. Hopefully, next time I'll have a few more indies to share. If you have any that you know of, feel free to put them in the comments. My library of fighters is massive, and I wouldn't mind adding even more to my collection. With that being said, thank you for watching, and take care.
Punches, spin kicks, watch your back split. I see you in the air when I make you backflip. Select to make your first pick. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. Choose and pick the best one. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Select to make your first pick. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. Choose and pick the best one. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.